How much would you spend for a pair of high-end shoes? No matter who we are, what we wear is a statement of who we are, no matter whether we care about it or not. Some people are willing to pay hundreds of dollars trying to signal to other people who they are. Payless was somehow able to fully hack into this consumer behavior with their publicity stunt involving a made-up luxury brand they called Palessi. Global retail sales of apparel and footwear was $1.9 trillion in 2019, and it's expected to grow to over $3 trillion by 2030. Americans in particular love to contribute to the growth of the market. The average American consumer spends almost $400 on footwear over the course of a year. Branded shoes may not matter all that much for some people, but for others, what they're wearing on their feet can almost be described as a cult. Needless to say, social media has been a major boon for luxury brands. It's made them seem as if high-end items are pervasive in everyone's lives. A huge part of that reason is thanks to heavy marketing using the biggest influencers. It all plays on the nature of wanting to belong or just fit in. Payless is an international discount footwear chain founded back in 1956 by cousins Louis and Shaul Payless. It was actually a business built on the idea that shoe salesmen weren't entirely necessary. Its first store was established in Topeka, Kansas, when it was known as Payless National. From the start, Payless stores were targeting budget-minded customers, and they aimed to keep prices of their shoes as low as possible by keeping overhead to a minimum. The designed self-service format of the stores allowed Payless to limit staff, which usually consisted only of a manager and one or two clerks. This no-frills approach to operations kept the average price for a pair of shoes at the original Payless stores below $3. Rather than keep inventory in a back room and employ a large sales team as department stores did back then, Payless kept boxes of shoes on open display in the store, where customers could help themselves to try on. It needed fewer workers for every pair of shoes sold, which, among other cost savings measures, allowed it to keep prices lower than many competitors could. Payless was a popular fixture in indoor malls and strip shopping centers that boomed in the second half of the 20th century. Payless's growth was fueled by changes in fashion and a desire for a wider variety in footwear. There was also the 50s baby boom that contributed to their rise, as middle-income families having more children meant more feet that needed shoes. Payless's major market was in women's and children's shoes, as it constituted roughly 90% of their sales. Fast forward to when Payless entered hard times at the turn of the century. While they rapidly grew and went global, Payless had competition from other retailers such as Target and Walmart. Foot Locker also became a huge problem for the company. But their biggest problem, and the reason for their bankruptcy in 2017, was their struggle with the migration of retail shopping to e-commerce. They struggled against fierce online competition and the decline of shopping malls. Online discount retailers such as Zappos brought Payless sales down. Plus, shopping malls were also closing across the United States. They were fast to bounce back though. After shedding more than $435 million in debt and closing approximately 673 stores, Payless was able to restructure. It was clear that they needed change. Payless was threatened by online competition, high-end shoe brands and their online influencers, and an outdated business model. What they needed was an injection of new life. And that's exactly what they did. Payless opened a fake luxury store called Palessi. Their stunt was able to successfully convince influencers into buying rebranded Payless shoes for $600. The shoes normally sold in Payless stores for a mere $20. Payless teamed up with DCX Growth Accelerator, a company who specializes in media pranks, or what the company calls as culture hacking. They took a look at Payless and pitched an out-of-the-box advertising campaign. It was a private party for a new luxury brand of shoes called Palessi, which was supposedly designed by Italian designer Bruno Palessi. So in November of 2018, Payless opened a make-believe luxury shoe boutique where a former Armani store used to reside in Los Angeles. To make it a believable high-end brand, Payless filled the store with sculptures and hired a full team of trendy-looking sales associates. They brought in gold mannequins and hung up white paper shopping bags with the Palessi branding. They created an Instagram account and began crowding it with caption lists and random pictures of models and stilettos. They bought and created a simple website, highlighting 2 stilettos held up by mannequin hands. They then filled up Palessi with their very own inexpensive footwear, except with a markup on the shoes on par with luxury brands. They then finally scouted the streets and the internet for influencers, fashionable people who looked like they'd be the type of person likely to attend the grand opening. The way they framed it was that it was a new brand in the US and the owner was looking for feedback. Surprisingly, or maybe unsurprisingly, many influencers fell for the Palessi experiment. Influencers quickly paid for shoes that were as much as 30 times the normal Payless shoe price. Many influencers were on camera buying shoes that were over $600, believing that they got a great deal. Some influencers were shown on camera praising the quality of the shoes. When the big reveal came, cameras caught the reactions of influencers when they were told the shoes weren't from a real luxury designer and, in fact, came from Payless. To say that they were shocked wouldn't be an exaggeration. To soften the blow, Payless returned the cash spent by the influencers in the stunt and let them keep the shoes for free instead. Future potential Payless customers who watched the stunt gone viral no longer have to believe the styles are great. They have the social proof from real influencers. The Palessi marketing stunt showed one important psychological trait that's a part of human nature. The only value for any given item is its perceived value, and never the actual value. As long as someone can just trick someone into thinking a certain item is valuable, that's all that matters. Payless's as low as possible shoe price business strategy may have been hampering its business all along. The lower the prices go, the harder it is to believe the style and the quality are all that great. The reason why some influencers paid $600 for a pair of $20 Payless shoes could be simplified to the statement that when it comes to quality, perception is reality. The customers actually believed they were purchasing luxury footwear because they were fed an array of social and environmental cues, but not because of the actual quality of the shoes themselves. Another confirmation is how shoppers equated the environment to the product. If the surroundings are opulent, the merchandise must be as well. Palessi was opened inside an upscale shopping mall that has stores such as Louis Vuitton and Barney's. Store designers call the calculated use of sensory elements atmospherics. Basically, consumers are subconsciously judging a book by its cover. The careful use of furnishings and structural elements does a lot of the sales job. Payless was ultimately signaling that they didn't want customers to simply focus on their lower prices. They wanted consumers to focus on the actual value that they could get from their shoes for those lower prices. According to consumer behavior consultant Philip Graves, the vast majority of consumers aren't capable of discerning the quality and value of the things they buy. Most consumers simply aren't able to tell premium construction from less expensive materials just by holding a shoe, especially if the product is styled to copy a luxury brand. The proof of quality is in the wearing, which can take weeks to determine. Then there are the customers who simply don't care about the quality if the style speaks to them. Graves states, quote, "The way that we evaluate things is through associations. If you package things up to look more premium, people will like it more. If advertising has high production qualities, people will think it's better." And that's exactly what happened in the Palessi experiment. Sarah Couch, Payless's chief marketing officer at that time, believed that the campaign would be a great way to get a lot of people to consider shopping at Payless again. The campaign turned out to be a huge marketing success. The videos and the articles about the prank went viral, garnering millions of views and likes. But most importantly, the company made a convincing case that its shoes are of high quality and value. While luxury branding and retailing experts praised the campaign's social media worthiness, Philip Graves believed that the advertising campaign would only have some short-term benefits for Payless, and he was right. For the second time, Payless filed for bankruptcy in February of 2019, and they closed down all of their over 2,000 US stores by May of 2019. But to be clear, it wasn't just Payless's product offerings, but also how they ran the business. For example, Payless had modernized its logo and branding in the late 2000s, but they had been so stingy with capital spending that roughly 70% of their stores still had 80s vintage signs. Another example was the company's outdated IT system. It updated inventory only once a day. That made it impossible to offer customers to buy shoes online and pick them up in the store. Payless, however, was revived in August of 2020, opening brand new stores as well as a brand new website. Perhaps they'll be better off in the future charging a reasonable higher price for their shoes to signal to their customers the quality of their shoes. That and updating their business practices in order to move as fast as their competitors in the 21st century. Click here to watch one of these next videos.